Welcome to the deep dive. We take those really detailed sources you hear about, cut through the static and pull out what actually matters. Today, we're diving into a world that, let's be honest, most people still see as just gambling, professional online poker. But for the folks doing it day in, day out, the grinders, it's anything but random chance. It's treated like a very serious business. Meticulous, data heavy. So our mission here is to unpack this one really comprehensive source that lays out the playbook these pros use. We want to figure out how they build these structured routines to maximize their profits, avoid burning out, and crucially, how they use discipline in systems, especially on platforms like ClubGG, to take emotion out of the equation.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this. Maybe start with that core idea, the professional mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. The source really hammers this home. Success isn't about some flash of brilliance or a lucky streak. It's a marathon. It's built entirely on systems. Consistency, discipline, solid decision-making again and again. These aren't nice-to-haves. They're fundamental.
Right.
And without that structure, the source is clear. Even really talented players, they inevitably fall into these classic traps. Three main ones. First is tilt, making bad emotional calls after losing a hand. The source actually argues that more money is probably lost to tilt over a career than just bad strategy.
Wow, okay.
Second is just basic fatigue. Your brain gets tired, your decisions get worse, especially late in a session when it really counts. And the third, maybe the biggest killer, is just terrible bankroll management, running out of money because you aren't disciplined. That structure exists purely to fight those three things.
That's a great point, and I think it connects for, anyone listening. It's like any high-performance job, right? Yeah. A pro athlete doesn't just show up hoping for a good game. They have strict training habits. So for the poker grinder, the source says this routine delivers three key benefits, really tangible ones. First, better profits because you're focused, playing your best game, minimizing those silly mistakes. Second, and this feels huge for sustainability, is achieving a balanced life. Health, seeing friends, not going crazy. Because burning out after 6 months doesn't help anyone.
Exactly. And the third benefit, which often seems kind of counterintuitive for poker, is financial stability. You get a steadier income, not because you stop losing, that's impossible, right?
Yeah.
But because you manage the ups and downs. You smooth out the volatility that comes with luck in the short term. It turns what looks like a wild ride into something more predictable, almost like a salary.
Right, managing the variance, not eliminating it. Okay, so we've got the mindset. Structure is king. But where does this happen? The foundation has to be the playing environment itself. And the source really zeroes in on platforms like ClubGG, talking about the tools they offer that actually enable this kind of professional approach.
What's fascinating here is you see the shift, don't you? From the sort of wild west of early online poker to these much more structured ecosystems. A platform like ClubGG gives pros some key advantages. For instance, being able to join private clubs or unions. That means they know they're playing against serious opponents in a safer space.
Okay, so vetting the competition, essentially.
Yeah, and managing risk. It also ensures the game structure itself, particularly the fee the house takes is low enough. That's critical for profitability when you're playing huge volumes of hands.
So it's like setting up a proper regulated office space almost, where the operating costs make sense. Beyond just safety and cost, you mentioned tools. The source talks a lot about data, right?
Oh, absolutely. The data aspect it's non-negotiable now. The platform gives you instant access to your hand histories, your stats. A pro today isn't just playing cards. They're generating data points constantly. They have to go back and review their performance to find and fix their leaks. Those are the little systematic mistakes in their strategy that just bleed away profit over the long run. This really shows we've moved way past just playing by feel or instinct. The modern grinder, they're kind of a data analyst first, card player second.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Got the mindset, got the tools. So now let's get practical. The structure itself. The source details this very specific 6-step process. Building what it calls the ideal grinder-friendly routine. What's step one?
Step one is all about clarity. Define your goals and pick your specialty. You can't just vaguely play poker. It needs to be treated like planning a career. Are you aiming for, say, a reliable monthly income? Or is your goal to train up for big live tournaments? They require different approaches.
And specialization too, right? You can't be master of all trades.
Exactly. You need to pick your lane. Is it cash games, sit-and-go tournaments, SNGs, or the big multi-table tournaments, the MTTs? Each has its own rhythms, strategies, and the source really highlights the importance of this by mentioning things like the micro-stakes poker bankroll challenge.
I've heard of this, like turning $50 into $1,000.
Precisely. And the point isn't really the $1,000. It's about proving you can follow the system, sticking to super strict bankroll rules, playing optimally even when the money feels small. It builds that core discipline you need later for higher stakes. The process is the point.
Okay, discipline from the ground up. Got
Yeah.
it. Step 2.
Scheduling your sessions wisely, and the source is adamant. The routine starts before you even sit down to play, that morning routine. It's listed as non-negotiable. Things like meditation, maybe some light exercise, a decent breakfast.
Not just about being healthy, though.
Not primarily, no. It's about mental prep.
Yeah.
Lowering stress, clearing your head so you can make sharp decisions from the first hand, no rushing.
Okay. And the actual playing time, how much is optimal?
Well, the data seems to suggest a sweet spot. Around 3 to 6 hours per day of actual play during peak traffic times, when more casual players are likely online. Push much beyond that 6-hour mark, and decision quality tends to just fall off a cliff, even if you feel fine.
Interesting. So fatigue is sneaky.
Very. And that's why the source mandates a 5 to 10 minute break every single hour. It's a hard reset. Prevents that feeling of getting kind of lost or zoned out staring at the tables. Fights decision fatigue.
Right. Step away, clear the head, which
Ah.
leads nicely into step 3, and this one I think might surprise people. Balancing study versus play.
Ah, yes, the ratio.
The source gives a specific ratio, doesn't it?
It does. The golden ratio for consistent growth is cited as 70% play, 30% study.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. I mean, think about that. 30%.
Yeah.
That's like if you work 40 hours, spending 12 of those hours just studying your craft as a professional.
It tells you how complex and fast-moving the game strategy is now.
So what does study actually involve? Just reviewing hands?
That's part of it, yes. Daily review of those hand histories we talked about. But critically, it also means actively using software tools, things called solvers and other training resources.
Solvers. Okay, we should probably explain those a bit.
Definitely. We need to pause on solvers. They're huge now. A solver isn't just like a hint system. It's sophisticated software that calculates the game theory optimal GTO strategy for pretty much any poker situation you feed it.
So, like the mathematically perfect play, the unexploitable move.
Exactly. It tells you the theoretically correct way to play to avoid being exploited. That 30% study time. A big chunk of it is spent trying to understand and internalize what the solver recommends for different spots.
Wow.
The source is blunt. If a grinder is just playing 100% of the time, no study, they will stagnate, guaranteed. Because the best strategies are constantly evolving based on this kind of deep analysis.
That really changes the job description, doesn't it? From
Yeah.
like a card sharp to an analytical strategist who happens to use cards. Okay, step 4 is about health and wellness. Seems obvious, but often ignored.
Often the first thing to go when the pressure's on, yeah. Sitting for hours on end is just brutal, physically and mentally. Fatigue leads directly to bad, often costly decisions. So the source includes this wellness checklist as part of the actual business plan.
Not just good advice, but required practice.
Right. Things like minimum 30 minutes of exercise daily. Staying hydrated, simple but crucial. Eating balanced meals, not just junk food. Taking screen breaks for your eyes, and importantly, mindset work, like journaling about sessions, visualization, maybe some mindfulness practice. It's all about building resilience for those inevitable tough stretches, the downswings, tools for focus and emotional control.
Makes sense. Armor plating your mind and body.
Ah.
Okay, step 5. Bankroll management. We touched on this, but it sounds like the absolute cornerstone.
It is. This is the financial discipline that truly separates the pros from the amateurs who eventually go broke. The core rule is stark, simple, and non-negotiable. You risk only 1 to 2% of your total poker bankroll in any single gamer session, period.
Okay, let me push back slightly here, though. That sounds incredibly disciplined, almost superhuman. But how realistic is that when you're in a really bad downswing? One of those runs of just terrible luck that can go on for weeks. Doesn't the psychological pressure make it almost impossible not to deviate, maybe chase losses a bit?
That pressure is precisely why the rule exists and why it has to be followed like a religion. The source really stresses this. The 1-2% rule isn't primarily designed to manage winning streaks. It's designed to let you survive variance. Bad luck. Because even a world-class player will hit brutal downswings. That's just probability.
Right.
By risking only that tiny fraction, a grinder ensures that even a nightmare scenario like losing 30 buy-ins in a row, which can happen, doesn't completely wipe them out financially. It's their defense mechanism against statistical reality.
So deviating is like dismantling your own safety net.
Guaranteed professional suicide, according to the source. Chasing losses, jumping up in stakes to win it back, that's how careers end. That's why meticulous tracking is vital. Every win, every loss tracked in a journal or software, no exceptions.
Wow. Okay, so accounting becomes a form of self-defense. And finally, step 6.
Review and optimize regularly. Think like a business owner reviewing their quarterly reports. You need that constant feedback loop. Every weekend, the source suggests, the grinder should be looking at key metrics. What's my win rate? How much time did I put in versus profit? And crucially, how are my mental energy levels holding up?
And if things are off?
You tweak. If the win rate is stagnant, maybe you need more study on a specific area. If you're constantly feeling drained, maybe the schedule needs adjusting shorter sessions, more breaks. If something feels wrong, you don't just push through, you diagnose and adjust the system. Stagnation costs money.
That's a really rigorous system. It sounds like it minimizes a lot of risks. But even with that structure, what are the big mistakes the source warns pros about? The pitfalls to avoid?
Well, the common mistakes usually boil down to violating the very system we just laid out, right? Things like playing too many tables at once, trying to maximize volume, but sacrificing the quality of decisions on each table. That's a big one.
Spreading yourself too thin.
Exactly. Another is chasing variance, getting too caught up in short-term luck, good or bad, instead of trusting the process and focusing on long-term expected value, the ROI. Skipping those sacred bankroll rules we talked about, fatal, and maybe the most insidious, just grinding without learning. Playing the hours, but not putting in that 30% study time, leading to stagnation as the game evolves past them.
Makes sense. And on the flip side, for the pros already doing all this, what about advanced tips, getting that extra edge?
Yeah, the source mentions things like leveraging heads-up displays, HUDs, where the site allows them. That's software overlaying real-time stats on your opponents right on the table.
So more data, instantly accessible.
Right. Also, networking with other high-level grinders, sharing insights, discussing tough spots, joining those exclusive clubs or unions for better games, and continuously experimenting. Maybe trying different formats, switching between MTTs, S&Gs, cash games to see where the biggest edge or profit potential currently lies for them.
Always optimizing.
Always. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the source paints a clear trajectory for the profession. It's moving rapidly beyond just human skill and intuition. The future of professional grinding, it argues, leans heavily on AI-driven analysis. These tools aren't just theoretical anymore, they're becoming standard operational equipment.
AI in poker, how does that work?
Well, think about automated systems analyzing massive databases of hands to spot opponent tendencies or patterns that a human might miss. Simulating millions of scenarios to refine strategy far faster than we could. The required skill set is shifting. It's less about being a great soul reader and more about being a great strategist who can effectively use these powerful analytical tools.
As learning how to use the tech becomes part of the study.
Absolutely. Future pros, the source suggests, will rely not just on solvers for strategy, but maybe on automated note-taking tools during play, or even specialized mental game coaching apps that help quantify and fix emotional leaks based on their play patterns. Data everywhere.
Okay, wow. So what does this all mean? Well, this deep dive into the grinder's playbook really seems to confirm it, doesn't it? Success at the top level of online poker isn't really about luck or some innate genius. It's fundamentally about discipline, structure, treating it like a serious, measured business that you're constantly refining. These routines, whether you're starting small on micro stakes or playing for big money, they're the engine that sustains momentum and ultimately drives long-term profit.
And the source leaves us with a really compelling final thought. It suggests this intense discipline doesn't just make you better at poker, build your bankroll, it actually sharpens your whole mindset, your life skills. Which leads to the question, right? If treating a game with this level of measured discipline, adopting that 70-30 study ratio, or enforcing a strict 1-2% risk rule leads to professional success, what 30 minutes of focused study or what small risk management principle could you maybe apply to your own goals this week? Whether it's a personal project or something in your career, that transferability of discipline, that's maybe where the real value is hiding.